Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank at Sniper's Hide. Happy race day. Good Sunday morning. Gonna do a little talking. Woke up early. I always wake up early. But yeah, woke up early. Happy race day. Was out watching races all day yesterday. Man, did you see Connor Zilic? What the heck? It was like, so I'm a Connor Zilic fan, man. He comes out of IMSA, which I dig the IMSA. I just spilled my coffee. I just spilled my coffee all over my stuff. Oh well, on my computer. I spilled my stuff. Anyway, oh well, I'm gonna have to deal with it later. But yep, I spilled my coffee. My oh, it's spilling everywhere. Poured my whole brand new coffee out. It just spilled. Ha! Crazy. Coffee went down. Good thing I got like a glass bottom. It's all just gonna leak out on my glass bottom here, but I'm covered in coffee. That's funny. Anyway, I'm bummed, man. So watching the races yesterday, and it's like going Zilic, SVG, and then they're fighting, and then SVG gets knocked out by Zilic, and it's like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen here? Junior on junior, you know? And then Zilic gets knocked back by Hill. Hill's up front and he's acting really aggressive and stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's like, Zilic gets knocked back and then little back and forth, little back and forth. Anyway, he comes back, tons of caution. Hill wrecks McDowell and like he just got off suspension. So it's a little bit crazy that all that suspension, and then he hooks I mean, not that it was on purpose, but he hooks McDowell, wrecks the entire field like in a really tight spot of Watkins Glen there, and then restart, red flag, caution, all this like at the end, messed the whole end of the race up. Well, Zilic ends up winning, and I like went when I went to Iowa, I ended up getting a Junior Hunter win shirt because I didn't like the Connor Zilic shirt. So I'm like, man, I'm a Connor Zilic fan. And even Laura's like giving me a hard time. She's like, Connor Zilic, all you ever talk about. And I'm like, I dig him, man. He wins the race, goes in and became national news. He goes into the winner's circle there in victory lane. And what happens? They're throwing the water. He's 19. He's not 21, so they don't do beer. They throw water and everything over. He climbs up on the car, falls, his foot hooks, head and shoulder down, knocks himself out, ends up breaking his collarbone. The guy's got like 4 or 5 wins. He's going to the top of the points. Out. How crazy is that, right? Connor Zilic broke his stuff, just top of that thing, and it's just nuts, man. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't even check my feeds to make sure everybody's up and running. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of here by myself this morning, and I spilled my coffee, and I'm doing all that. And let's see, am I there? I don't know. How does this even work? Oh yeah, there, I'm there, good there. Am I here? Yep, I'm good there. Okay, I was just double checking, making sure it was all good. But yeah, crazy kind of deal that you know, that the race yesterday, and then Zilich was supposed to run today, and they withdrew him. He was Red Bull Trackhouse and all that, and they withdrew his entry because the dude's, he's out of the hospital, but he's out of the season, man. And it was like that dude was going to be next level. And hopefully this collarbone doesn't mess with him, and who knows with the heel. And it's just crazy that that happened to Zilich. I can't believe I spilled my coffee all over everything. Unfriggin' real. I can't believe it. Just totally spilled my coffee. But anyway, like I said, good thing I got glass because stupid floors are off white. So I got glass to cover it up for a while. But I was gonna just kind of pop in today, doing some stuff. I was testing. I went in this morning because one of my cameras, or a couple of them. Hey, what's up, Howard? Oh, I'm not alone. There's a couple people. Um, there, morning, Howard. Yeah, we're not alone. We got a couple people popped on. But yeah, I'm just bummed that I spilled my coffee, and that's the biggest drama here. Is I'm sort of compacted in a corner to get my angle, and if I go straight, I'm better. But I need to sort this out again. I need to clean my desk up, and I just piled shit on from the last lives. I got that camera. I was downstairs playing with into the camera so I can do the live like with my phone, and I was doing my firmware on this little bitty camera, and I was trying to connect it outside, and it was like swirling, and I didn't want to wait for it. So I said the hell with it and came upstairs. That's why it's like 5 after 9 or 10 after 9 now, quarter after 9. I was actually going live at 9, and I was doing it with like a camera sitting on the front porch where I wouldn't have spilled my coffee. And if I did, I wouldn't have cared. It would have been on the front porch versus on my computer, on my mic stand, on my mouse pad, which is the size of the desk, and on my floor. I have coffee spilled all over the place. So good, coffee is coffee is coffee. But had really good conversations yesterday with the Hyde people, just coming on with the Hyde TV. So I was trying to come into the broadcast because the way this is going to be set up, I'll be able to just pop right in with my phone and do these on the fly, like in, kind of man on the street lives to Hyde TV. And so I'm going through all of these updates that they're doing and connecting services and systems. So it's the little bit of trial and error. Like I said, I popped in on the front porch with my coffee and fired up the camera, and it was swirling and swirling. So I don't know if being out front the service wasn't great or something, but I'll work on it this week because I'm really testing the remote. I know I can, do all this with the it hardwired the way I am. I can come in my studio, spill coffee, and go live. I could do that. That's super easy. But I want to do it easier and different remotely, but still a certain amount of control. And so that's where I'm going at. Then, besides the weather, it's actually nice today. That's why I had a hoodie on. Because it's 65 outside and not 95. But it's been a hunter, 95, 97. And I spoke with Chris last night. He's at gun site. I'm gonna kind of like, I really like the NRL Hunter guys. I really like the concept of NRL Hunter. Find it, range it, engage it. Right? I think that's a smart way. I think their weights, I think their rules, and I don't know 100% of their rules, but I know the weight limits in some of their classes. I talked to Chris about it, but I don't jump in and go, oh, you're going to do skills and you're going to do this. It's like, okay, you'd have to explain to me exactly skills production and that. I know there's factory and things, but anyway, I know a bit of it. So I talked to Chris last night, and they're at the NRL finale, and it's at Gunsight in Arizona, and it's 100. And I said to him, I'm like, why would someone do the finale in August in Arizona. You have to be the dumbest person on the planet. And they had 2 ROs were heat casualties and several competitors. So you broke people. Are you out of your fucking minds to put on a match in August in Arizona? How stupid is that? You couldn't wait till September. You know the weather's going to flip. And why couldn't the finale be September 15th, September 25th, when you know the weather's going to sway? Maybe not great. You might have a week and maybe you get unlucky. But August in Arizona is your idea for a comp? A finale? Where people want to be at the top of their performance level? And you're going to nuke them in 100-degree weather? That sounds so stupid to me. And I was like, man, and especially he's telling me, yeah, 2 ROs fell out. Yeah, a couple competitors fell out. It's like, yeah, like you're in Arizona in August and you want people to run and gun for the finale. That to me was crazy. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Um, it's just it's insane that there's no thinking. You know, I took pride when I was working with Jacob and Rifles Only and thinking about all elements of the match. You know what I mean? How are you showing up? How are you taking care of people? Even like when I had it out here, it was so hard. Like the 2 years I did the match out here, like hotels at the time. Now you go to Fort Morgan, there's 6 hotels. At the time there was 2. And so getting 200 people was hard. But you got to think about that because then it's like, hey, I only can get a hotel room an hour away. And it's like, sorry. Well, I'm supposed to be top of my game competitor and I got to drive an hour in the morning. Sorry. And then we had the rain and the mud, right? We're doing it in spring and it rained. Cooler, but muddy, driving in, difficulty setting up, all those things, right? And it's like, man, that's a bad time of year. Like, I'll give you a great example Iowa. We were doing Iowa a little later in the year. Well, they flipped their crop. One year it's soybean, tire range is open to you. The next year it's corn. 1 week late, and the corn blocks a lot. And that was drama with Sure Shot Range with the PRSE people. And so then we moved the class back to accommodate for the weather or the crop, really. It's a little bit of weather too, because then you get the heat and we don't want to be there in July and August. We were there like August and we moved it to June because it manages things better. And so we always think about these things when we're putting stuff together. And just like the idea of like Gunsight, August, and I love Gunsight. I've been Gunsight 5, 6, 7 times. Um, you know, it's hot. There's not a lot of shade. There's that cedary scrub crap that maybe goes 10 feet that you can crawl under, but it's not like shade trees. It's like finding shade anywhere you can. And so, yeah, to me, that's kind of a craziness that, like, why not September? Why not give somebody say, hey, we're gonna have the finale here. And, maybe there was a logistics thing. I don't know why, but give somebody an extra 30 days to practice. I don't know. It just seems like a weird time to end the season anyway. Um, yes. Yeah, you can deal with it, but you got to co-sign it. So Gravity Ballistics, Jacob's asking a question here. So how do you deal with angles? Well, we can work with angles. In fact, I can talk that in a second. Great question with the angles. One, if you get your dope straight line, you're always going to start off with your dope flat line, right? So now you're going to go hunting. I dope my rifle with Gravity Ballistics flat line. I drew this picture not too long ago. I could probably I'm so sorry. I'm like so messed up because I spilled coffee and I don't have any, and Laura's sleeping, so I don't have any way of cleaning up my desk. But and there's just coffee all over. So anyway, I would draw it for you what to do. But Jacob, what you would end up doing is it's the cosine of the angle, right? So of your dope. If I was going to, yeah, yeah, I know, and so you're going to shoot uphill and downhill is the same hold. There is a very slight variation. Gravity's going to help a little bit downhill, fight you a little bit uphill. But for practical hunting, shooting purposes, up and down are the same. And how that works is if I draw three equal lines as a triangle, right? Center line is 1,000 yards. Then I'm going to go an angle up 1,000, an angle down 1,000. If I connect those two lines, gravity only works on the angle for like 900 yards, not the full 1,000. So what you're going to do is you would look at the cosine just like we do with craft quick wind. You're doing the same exact cosine thing as wind call. So what you would say is like an angle cosine indicator on your rifle, or figure out what the angle is and then convert it to a cosine. You would say, okay, I'm shooting downhill and it's, a 89% cosine. Well, it's 89% of your dope. And so you would do that same thing like the wind. I got a 10-mile-an-hour wind, 89% of it would be, a 9, an 8, round it to a 9. So it's not full 10, it's a 9. Well, you could do that same thing and say, okay, I'm going to shoot downhill. I got a good sized kill zone. I'm going to take 2 or 3 tenths off my dope. You're going to use less dope. So, really, what you can do is you can say, okay, I'm shooting downhill. I want 3 tenths off the rifle. I'm going to shoot uphill. I want 3 tenths off the rifle. But you always dope straight line and then cosine the angle. So it really doesn't. Now, a great example, because you did bring this up with gravity ballistics, Paula, California has 17 degrees to 800 yards. Mifflin, Pennsylvania has like 13 degrees to 1,000 yards. We modify gravity ballistics in the app. And if I pulled it up, there's a I wonder if I got that. I might be able to pull this up for you. Let me go to my desktop. I might have Mark's where's my there it is. I might have Mark's, what do you call it, polish sheet here, and that will give me the that's not it. Let me see if I have a Pala sheet in this thing, and that'll tell us the offset. No, I don't see a Pala sheet in here. Oh wait, is this Pala? Oh yep, I got it. I got Apollo weaponized. So this is great. So I can even play this or show this for you guys. So the yard data is different and the try data becomes different. So let me go into here for you guys to take a look at this screen, and let me just, there we go. So see that? That's different numbers than using the gravity ballistics normally. If you look, we modified it for the angles. So if you're looking at this right now, that is a modified gravity ballistics worksheet to dope a rifle on a range with angles, because angles affect gravity, right? You're using less of it. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing, so yesterday I woke up early. I always do, like I said, I wake up quite early and I'm sitting there. This is gonna my coffee's moving towards the carpet. I gotta try to save it. I spilled a lot. It was full. I came up here with a full cup and I spilled 3/4 of it. So anyway, um, so I was talking with Grok yesterday, and I was throwing him gravity ballistics information. And, then like the game changer for Grok was the use of water lines, point of aim, point of impact. And once Grok understood water lines and knew, he was like, oh, forget it. You just changed the game with a water line. Water line, and he says straight up, gravity ballistics is superior to any unmodified or trued, really. So if you just put muzzle velocity, BC, sight height into your app and shoot it, gravity ballistics will beat it by a mile. Now, to true it, we use the gravity ballistics to true it. But I asked Grok to look at my numbers or look at our numbers. And he actually said you should modify the 1,000-yard number from 1.22 to 1.18, and you'll be more accurate. So it's like that's the beauty, like, with this. And in the app, and I can show you because Jacob's there. In the app, Jacob, so old Grok here is telling me, he's saying, listen, dude, I think, if you use, if here, you could see it. It says like 121, right? He's telling me to go 1.8. He's telling me to use 1.8, and I can modify it. I just put in 1.8, and then I'm like, okay, and then it's there, And so that's the beauty, is that I can go in and I took screenshots. I put it in. Yeah, Mark has it. I don't have it memorized. I'd have to ask Mark what he used because Mark did it. So there is. He did it for Paula. He did it for uh Mifflin, and he knows. I don't know. And what we did is we basically shot it and looked at it and said, okay, this is the new number. But it was a tiny modification. But we do have the sheets. And then I believe we sort of work the angle number backwards. And then it's really just a lot of this stuff with the gravity ballistics, and the beauty of gravity ballistics is that you can sort of work the math backwards because it's so simplistic. It's 1 times this equals this. And then you can divide. Well, this divided by this should be this, and so you can actually just divide your number back and say, well, what's that supposed to be? And the first time you do it, you now have the number that'll work with any other caliber or rifle you're shooting. So if your range has an angle, shoot it once and then And then anytime you do anything after that, the gravity ballistics will work for your new rifle, new whatever you're doing. But yeah, so I was in one. I've been working the live stream stuff, and this morning that's where I was trying to play with because I want to be more mobile live streaming. And then by the site adding, I wish I had a napkin or something. I'm gonna have to start, or even just that'll work. That one's a good one though, because like I said, my stuff is moving closer and closer off my thing. There we go. Anyway, yeah, so it it just works, man. It's so much easier. And I probably spent over an hour plugging stuff into Grok about gravity ballistics and having him tell me what he sees, how he sees it, and then give me his info. You probably can ask Grok and he would do it. So it's pretty simple. But I didn't do the math. Mark did it. A lot of this admin and the Mark, and this is, you could see he's got his Taylor was here in the, his copyright, and Taylor did a lot of that. I didn't. I'm like the running around doing silly shit guy, and Mark was the sitting at home doing the admin work stuff. So it's hard to say with that. But yeah, it totally, angles work like wind using the cosine. You use your straight line dope, and then you're using the dope, not the distance. So don't cosine the distance to the target, cosine the dope to the straight line distance, because you need 100% of the wind. So if you have an angled shot, to go back to angles really quick, if you have an angled shot that's 1,000 yards, but the modification to the math gives you 850-yard dope, it's still 1,000 yard of wind. So your elevation is 850, but your wind is 1,000. And that could be 2/10 more, that could be 3/10 more. You're on the backside of the curve, so things are slowing down, and it might not line up 100% to 1 to 1. It might be 1.5 to 1. And so 2/10 is now 3. So it could be a case of that where we're getting into the partial percentages and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I told him today. I told him on Friday. Um, yeah, that zero angle. I don't get. I and I don't even know where you put it. Like I've even seen people go for like sight height and do it in mills and go to like 10 yards and shoot and then register the sight height based on where the bullet impacts. And I've seen people do that as well for sight height. I've seen a lot of modifications, but I'm not quite sure I follow Hornaday's zero angle. And even like I did so years ago when Hornaday first came out with Ford off. I'll tell the anecdotal story because why not? And I'm covered in coffee and wet and uncomfortable, so who knows? So Hornaday's gonna come out with their Fordoff software. They've aligned with Kestrel. They got their Hornaday Fordoff app. And what happened was immediately when it released, Applied Ballistics put out a internet thing that says Fordoff. Um, do you or Jacob saying, do you understand the angle? You saying they explain it well. Where do you get the number for your angle? Are they just measuring the barrel angle? What are they using for the angle? I don't remember. It's been a million years and I put it out my head. But post to me on the chat, Jacob. Where are they getting the angle number and what number do they generally use? Because I don't remember. I remember looking at it, and I went to their thing before they started doing zero angle. They were using true range zero when I went. So Brian Litz puts an article out that says, yep, okay, that's what I thought. So they're just putting like their phone on it and reading the angle. Like what tool are they using for the number? Like how precise, I guess I'm trying to ask. But anyway, so we go and Brian's like, Ford off doesn't exist. You don't need Ford off. 3 DOF is all anybody needs. These guys are silly. There's no such thing. And I'm like, what? In 1966, look it up on Google, Litsky. Ford off was done a long time ago. So Hornaday's in a pickle because they don't want to fight with Brian. And it's like, I get it. Two big players in the market, they don't want to fight with each other. Well, through the network, and I won't say what other company, so it's the game of telephone, right? So Hornaday talks to these people, telling them how upset they are about Brian. And then these people say, there is somebody with a voice who will disagree publicly with Brian. And they're like, "Who's that?" And they say Frank. And so Hornaday calls me up and invites me to their shop and to give me a ballistics lessons with their Ford off. I go through a PowerPoint, I do a whole day in the classroom with them. Next day we go out and shoot their Doppler. At the time, they're doing true range zero, not barrel angle. And so I Dopplered like 4 of my rifles. We shot it all out. Yeah, see, that's way too much work, man. Angle calculated using uh yeah, see, that's way too complex, man. Gravity ballistics is 1,000 times easier. And to be perfectly honest, Like, I'm reading the comments in, uh, the app does it all. That's what, like, I know they changed it. Remember they used the app changed so much. And that was, I remember calling Jaden and be like, "Dude, it's it's overly complicated. You're changing this app too often." At one point with the Axle form factor, it had the Chinese menu. Did you hit here or here? Then they went to dope. And so I took applied ballistics in Hornaday's Ford off to Gunsight, since we were just talking Gunsight. And I ran the ELR course, the XLR, at Gunsight with the 300 Norma with the ASR rifles with AI. The Hornaday fell apart. I was not very impressed with the Hornady app. I trued it. I did everything. I went through. After 1,800 yards, it started deviating and deviating and deviating. Where applied ballistics was within, a little bit. But no, but what I'm saying is I don't like how Hornady constantly changes the way they do something. Because I started out in the beginning and they weren't doing the angle, they were doing true range 0. Then they switched to angle. Then the axial form factor changed 3 times, and how you picked where your strike was. And now they're doing the angle. I'd have to look at the app again, but I honestly stopped using apps since Gravity Ballistics. But I do use Applied Ballistics to feed my phone and my watch. So through the Garmin, the Kestrel, and Applied Ballistics, because it was after Gunsight XLR course, I completely went back to Applied Ballistics for all my stuff and just said, no, I'm sticking with Applied Ballistics, their world. And then I just feed Applied Ballistics through Gravity Ballistics. Now, inside 1,000 yards, I don't use anything except look at my Gravity Ballistic number to, I'll look at, like, if I switch to a PRC, I just look at my 600. And it's like, okay, I'm shooting a 6.5 PRC, not a 6.5 Creed. What's the 600? All right, I'm 3.2 instead of 3.5. And then from there, I know. And then the same thing with some of these other ones, um, that I'll just look there and say, okay, where's my 6? And once I know my 6, I know the rest. Because 5 and under, very little moves. It's the same dope. And then 6 is sort of where weather and atmosphere catch up to the bullet. And with 6 millimeters and 6.5 Creedmoors, it extends that atmospheric offset to 5.6, where at a 308, it's like 3.4. You start seeing weather show up with a 308 a lot sooner than with a 6 millimeter. And so that's why dope will be similar, inside a distance. But yeah, so Hornady just confused the snot out of me and changed their app one too many time. And then, like, when Menchaca was working with me and we were doing the classes for applied or for Mile High, we were completely Hornadayed out because they had a relationship with Hornaday as well through their LE people. Their LE people were then their trainers and instructors, because of Hornaday's bullets, were fully Hornaday people. So we use the app. And then I remember we had like a class and everything was great. Then we had a class and nothing worked, and they had broke the app. For like 2 weeks, it was broke. And Mike had called Jaden and all that, and they were like, "Yeah, we're pulling our hair out over here." And then that's when I kind of made the decision and was like, "I'm not depending on this stuff. We can't." And why in my classes we can't depend on, people doing things with the phones, and why we switched to, paper and paper and doing this never changes. This is always the same. This can feed all those apps, and I'm not falling down because of somebody else's program that suddenly doesn't want to work. So that was part of the deal with us. And yeah, but like I said, I and even Laura, all Laura's Kestrel is Hornaday, because when she came to me, She came out of Team Gap, and, her ex is Brantley, and so she came out of Team Gap, and she came out of Manners, and she came out of all of that, so they're Hornaday people. So she uses Hornaday Kestrels, so I have them here, but I'm not a Hornaday fan anymore with their app, and even, like, talking about the Burris, I really dislike Burris's app. I like what the scope does. I like, it feeds easy, but the app is clunky. It works, but barely for me. And so clunky apps, and we're older dudes now. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, so but yeah, I don't use software like that anymore. And the only, and maybe I'll put it like I'll connect my laser to my watch and tap and roll, and so I'll just look then, because if it's a weird number and I don't want to kind of overthink, I just want to read, I could easily just connect any one of my Vectronics. I got three of them, and all three connect to my Garmin watch, and it's like bang, done, and I don't have to think about it, but inside 1,000, if you say to me that's a 750-yard target, I know my dope. If you say, okay, we're going to shoot that one, it's 880, okay, I know my dope. And but it's just, if I have to find the range, I might as well let the computer tell me everything. I don't laser it and go, oh, it's 880. I laser it and go, "Oh, it's gonna be 6.0, or it's gonna be 6.2." I don't laser it to just give me 880. And so that's kind of one of the things that I'll do. I'll just be like, "Oh, well, I know if it's 880, I'm gonna do 2/10 off my 9." And that's like 6.0, but if I have to figure out it's 880, might as well just pull the laser up and let it go, you know? I know. But yeah. So anyway, craziness. But yeah, it's a good Sunday morning, race day. Looking forward to it. I like I said, I'm bummed with the Connor Zilic thing and him breaking his collarbone. I was ready to ride that rocket all the way to Phoenix, man. And now that the dude's out with a broken collarbone, I'm like, are you kidding me? But Larson did awful qualifying. He's in the 20s. And, qualifying up there, like, Pockrass is picking Michael McDowell, which is a dark horse pick, but it's a smart one. McDowell was running good yesterday till Hill wrecked him. McDowell's a good road course in the cars. Front row cars have been doing all right. Same thing with RFK. RFK has a connection to shooting back east. Best steel targets and a couple other things. Some of the guys like the VRI, the Virginia, and all that. There's shooting stuff around some of those tracks, and RFK's kind of got their people with a toe in shooting, so that's kind of neat. But yeah, I'm like I said, I popped in to go live and didn't expect to spill my coffee across everybody, off my table and onto everything, but I did. It's a bummer. And but yeah, I guess it's all done in the app. I don't know. Like I said, I like my gravity ballistics. I like the way it's coming. I like the way the wind is working out now and adding it in there. I mean, and it really, it's using a whole different set of things going on, that it's just, I don't know. Make sure that's all working. But I Hornady ammo with the arc, I'll use a lot of the Hornady ammo. It's easy. So I'm shooting the 6 arc. I should build a track in like Laura's Kestrel, and with her app, I should just go to her phone and build the track today or tomorrow and I got the 25 Creedmoor. I could do it with the 25 Creedmoor. Get her Hornady Kestrel, get her Hornady app, put the 25 Creedmoor and build it from scratch and use all their tools in the app again. Because I probably haven't opened Hornaday's app up in 2 years. If I'm being honest, I probably haven't fired that. I don't even know if it's still on my phone. I don't even think so. Let me go into my ballistics program to see if I still run in. Yeah, it's still on here. I mean, I have everything. I got ballistics AE, I got Knight's Armament, I got shooter, MD ballistics, Hornaday, ice snipe, AB Quantum, Ballistics AE, SIGS Kilo 24 ABS, Traceall, Kestrel Link, Windfinder Pro, Garmin Synapse, SBC Zero, a density altitude shot view, the access for the vectors. I got Chair Gun Elite, which is Strelok, I'm pretty sure. AB Connect, Ballistics X, and Burris Connect. Those are all the and then Gravity Ballistics. Those are all the shooting apps that are currently sitting on my phone. No, no. And honestly, in Vietnam, uh, they were winging it. And even Steve Sully, Badlands, he's full of shit. There's no way Steve Sully did a 1,200 and something yard shot with an M1D in fucking country with no range finders, no this, no that. He may have walked the 8 rounds into somebody, and maybe they caught splash. But no, that whole Vietnam shit is like, I'm sorry, Kyle, I'm not quite following where you're at. But I'm missing where you were saying, but no, they didn't have those tools. They didn't disseminate like nowadays, those guys who are doing those front range, front line, I'm active, I'm this, like pick a ranger team. I did all the rangers. There's like 4 or 6 of them, and each guy's got a different tool. So they have sat nav pluggers, lasers, all that, and they're triangulating. In Vietnam, they had a compass. They weren't doing a pace count. Like you go to gun site, and they're like, "Yeah, great, exactly." So maybe like Steve Sully from Badlands, who's 1,000 years old, he might even be dead. He don't like me. He thought I was full of shit, but he's supposedly a Marine sniper from Vietnam with like a 1,200-yard shot, and he's saying he did it with like an M1D. No, you didn't. Maybe you walked one in or had a unique situation where you were able to like you shot in the ground from an angle. Maybe he was up in a back mountain, kind of, Tom Berenger up above somebody. Monstrum. Amazon Monstrum, the 1 inch, the nice one. He's asking, one of the guys is asking about a riser. The Monstrum riser without the external nuts. That's the one you want. It's like 1 inch or 3/4, and it has flush side screws and not externals. Those are the ones you want. But anyway, yeah, maybe he was up. Oh, geoballistics. Which one? A bunch of them do. There's a bunch of software you could have, like, still have it on my Trimbles. I have Trimbles downstairs, and I have two kinds. I have a big Trimble and I have a Juno. Those have ballistics app that connect to GPS through the Trimble, and I can set just like that geoballistics does the same thing. Target priority. Traceal may do it as well because Traceal has the Vectronics link in it. And so geoballistics is the one that, like, geoballistics, you can like I'll be silly, and this actually happened back in the day with precision shooting app. Um, the the Trimble one. You can go say they're gonna have a finale. They're having a finale at Gunsight, and say you were able to go to Gunsight a week ahead of time and walk to every target with your phone. Boom, 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 and GPS everyone. Here's a target, here's a target, here's a target. You then can go to every firing line and say, "Where am I? Where am I? Where am I?" And it'll give you a range and direction of fire to everything you have mapped. Now you have to do it, but there is software that will do that, that is civilian based, and geoballistics is one of them. And like how early on it was explained to me is I can go to my range, target card all my targets, and then online post that range, and then students can come and pull that information down using a geoballistic system. So geoballistics will do that. I don't know if Revix does it as well, because Revix is very hunting and find it. So Revix might also, but Traceall might. The Trimble stuff definitely does. Geoballistics, and then anything that has GPS targeting. So they'll say your software has GPS targeting, and that means you get a GPS reading to the target, a GPS reading to where you're standing or where the phone is, and then it'll tell you what you need to shoot it. So there is that out there that aren't, I mean, like I have my 25 Charlie with the AB in it. I probably have something that would set up targeting in that as well. So I don't know. But it's a lot of setup, and it's not a on the fly thing. So like if you go to a match, you'd have to set it up. And so it doesn't work unless you can pre designate the target locations. You can't just on the fly with that kind of, you can't. I have a plugger, I have vectors, boom, I hit the target and it triangulates and does all that. Oh no, ask Andrew's got a question here. I love going to the range, man. I still go. I still have fun, and everything's changing so often. You know what I mean? Everything changes constantly. Like the software, like Hornaday, we're talking. You know what I mean? It's like you get an update, and then the next thing you know, you're like, what did they do? Oh, shoot, it's here. Even the quantum. Look at how applied ballistics, when it moved to quantum, that was kind of a big change. So then you're relearning, and I enjoy it, man. And like I said, I go smack prairie dogs. I'm hitting a prairie dog at 800-900 yards. So that's fun. And to me, it's like I try for that win call. Like I don't load my mags like 10 rounds and go for a prairie dog. I put like 3 in, and then it's like if I didn't hit him in 3 but he's still out there, it's like, "Oh shit." Then I run back and go grab like 3 more rounds and do it again. And it's usually getting that front to back on them, because if I have the Mars mounted on my scope, it becomes easier to kill a prairie dog at 6 to 800 yards. But if I don't, I'm kind of guessing, because it's like, okay, there's a 600-yard target. 30 yards behind it is that set of towns. Okay, am I that town or am I the 700 town? Cuz it's a little terrainy. So I'm winging it that way. But I mean, even just like with Chris's math, now I'm center punching targets, and it's not like my first round is heavy into the wind, and it's like, boom, I caught the wind side, pro side tight. It's like, oh shit, I overestimated and pro sided it on the that inside third or outside third. Now it's like center punch, and it's like, whoa, okay, if I do the work and do the math. But no, I enjoy it. I still, like I said, I'm a fanatic. That's what nobody realizes. I still enjoy this. This is still my passion. I still like talking about it and finding new ways. Yeah, I do. And every now and then I smoke them. Like I got some great shots on prairie dogs, man. And I do. And that's what Chris was laughing, because we were doing a podcast a month ago or so, and I was talking about whacking prairie dogs, and he stopped the podcast. He's like, time, because I wasn't saying a range. And Chris is like, he shoots him at 800 and 900 yards. He doesn't shoot him at 2 and 3. And I can move around, and I have a great spot where they almost start at 100 and then stop at 3. And the way the terrain is, it's almost like its own little mini bowl to catch my rounds because I'm shooting sideways on it now, and I'm not shooting out kind of smarter to my impact area. I have a big impact, but I am shooting in the wrong angle. But because there's a hill there, I can go. I take students to the 300-yard prairie dogs. Me, I stay 6 to 9, and I do that. And if they're at 6, I'm like, oh, they're up at 6. I'm gonna freaking whale them in 2 shots. If they're in that 600-yard spot, I'm almost absolutely gonna get them in 1 or 2. And even the student, we took a picture of the student. He got him in 3. So one of the students last week, and I got his picture. He got it in 3, and it was a little one too. He shot a little bitty guy. It wasn't anywhere near, but he had a Seekins PH3, 6.5 Creedmoor, and he got his dog in like 3 shots. He never changed mags or nothing when he got it, so it wasn't very many shots. And when you're that far away, I throw dirt on them a lot. Um, when you're that far away, they don't know you're shooting at them. You know what I mean? They do, but they don't. They don't know what it is. I mean, one of the great ones. I come out. I come out. First thing, we show up at the range, and the sun's at our back, so everything in front of us is glowing. All the targets are glowing, and anytime a prairie dog stands up and he's up tall, he's glowing with that white underbelly, right? And they glow. They're reflecting back at you. So I walk right up and I go, "Whoa, he's proud." And I do this off a tripod. I'm not shooting him prone. I shoot him off a tripod. So I set my tripod up, I crank in on him, and I launched the first round, and I had too much wind, and I'm a little high. I'm like 2 tenths high, and I'm like 4 tenths too much wind. Well, he kind of moves and comes back up. Well, another one comes up. So now I got 2 dogs. One's up, the other one's there, and I got a gap right between them. So I make my correction. I come down with my second shot, and I launch my second shot, and I go right between them. So they're standing there, and it goes right between them. I'm like, son of a, and I'm laughing like Chris. Somebody else was out at the range with us. I don't remember who, but I'm laughing, and I shoot, and and I laugh. So Andrew asking if I'm having fun, and right between them. Well, now I go, and I don't, and again, I didn't load a mag. I'm kind of pulling them out of my pocket, and because I just walk in the Connex, and I grab a handful, and I'll stick them in my pocket, and I'll just single feed them. And so I pop it out, and so now they're together. The dogs are, like, next to each other. So I turned around, I come back, and they're up and they're together, right, shoulder to shoulder. So I had the wind call, went between them, had my elevation, all good. Third shot, whoom. I smoke one of them, and he drops. The other one just looks, turns his head, and goes, "Oh," and looks down and disappears because they'll eat each other too. But 900 yards, you don't really blow them apart. They might gut a little bit, but the 6, they'll gut. The 9, when I was shooting with the Valkyrie just put a mark on them. I wonder, I mean, like the Valkyrie, let me see if I can get the picture up. There we go, prairie dog. Yeah, yeah, here's a Valkyrie one. The Valkyrie just put that little mark on him at 930 yards. Like it killed it, but all you see is that little scab on there, and that was a Valkyrie hitting them at 900 yards. So they don't explode, they just die and they'll fall in their hole, and they always go back in their hole a lot. And so yeah, I smoked one, and the other one just went, "What? Oh shoot, that guy's gone," and then they'll eat each other and stuff. But then, like one of them, so then that other one went down, and then I'm walking around, walking around. Well, he came back up, and I had the call from earlier. Well, I shot that one like maybe from my Valkyrie to the arc to a Creedmoor. I'll even shoot him with a PRC. I don't care. That far away, I'll shoot him with a I have a good one on a 6.5 PRC. I headshotted one. This one. This was the 6.5 PRC, and I headshotted that guy friggin' at like 970 yards or something with the PRC, but I just canoed his head. It was pretty funny. And yeah, so he comes back out and I'm like, "Oh, that guy's back." And so I put another round in and I winged him. I hit him but didn't kill him, and he's flopping crazy. And he's running away from the holes really, but he's flopping like nuts and he's going to the left on me. Well, I got a golden eagle up in the towers. If you see the videos, well, the eagles know I shoot them. And there's eagles all over the place and hawks and, game birds that come and kill that shit. Well, like a friggin' 3 foot tall golden eagle comes down and swamps them and kills them. I may not be able to find it, but let me see if I can find you. I took a through the scope, and it's blurry as hell. But I have a picture of the eagle. Here, is this it? No. I have a picture of the eagle after I killed the prairie or shot the prairie dog and wounded him. Yeah, he is. But you can barely see him. He's right there in my reticle. And the eagle came down and killed and finished off the prairie dog after I did. But he's a half a mil tall, almost point 0.7 tall. So figure call it 7. That one's probably he's around 650, I think, maybe 700. Call it 700 yards. And a point 0.7 tall eagle is eating my prairie dog that I shot. But yeah, I just tripod him, and that's how I shoot him. I just stand up, tripod, and shoot him that way. Yeah, and my Valkyrie was like, yeah, I love shooting them with the Valkyrie. And like I said, it doesn't blow them apart unless I go close. Like if I go to that 100 to 300 and I get one at 100 to 250 with the Valkyrie, they'll go up and starfish and turn. They're all over the place. I need to go out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to go out. And shoot a bunch, and then I have the coyote calls like Adam from Mile High. They go out to the range all the time and get coyotes. I haven't been shooting coyotes, but I did get a call recently and it's out at the range and I may go out there and knock a coyote down or two. I got to head back here because they just pile the bodies by the trail. Chris and I were going out to do a class and it was May. Yes, I have a JP Valkyrie in semi-auto. I actually won top military LE veteran at a Guardian with a Valkyrie. I came in 12th. The first time when the 88 grain ammo came out, I had gotten it the week before I shot the match, and I did a Guardian with a JP semi-auto. I have a JP downstairs in a Valkyrie, and I've shot a match with a semi Valkyrie. And so, yeah, the 80 grain now is amazing. You switch from the 88s and the 90s, you go to the federal 80 grain load. It's really good because it's like 2950. And 22s want speed. The bitch was with the Valkyrie, how they killed these calibers was they were doing the 2750. If you get a box of 6.5 Creedmoor, muzzle velocity 2750. Well, the 90 and the 88 grain Valkyries were 2750. And you get the 6 arc, the 108, 2750. And so all these calibers they make 2750. While 2750 works for Bob who doesn't know anything about shit and is only going to shoot, 3 times a year and maybe go to 1,000 yards, 2750 is great. It doesn't nuke his gun. It's accurate. It's not too much recoil. It sucks. 2750 don't work when you want to be precise, when you want control. It's like, here's my gun, and I don't care what gun you built. If you built a gun and your muzzle velocity is going 2750, you're driving a Ford Focus. I want my gun to be a friggin' Porsche. I want it to go fast. So, yeah. Yeah, the 80 grains and all, even like the arc, the 80 grain in the arc is 3,000 feet per second. You get a short arc, put the 80 grains in it. The 103 and the 105 for me almost zero in the same spot. They separate due to BC and stuff. Now they tell you the 103 is supposed to be 2,800. Well, out of my rifle, the 103 is 2,750 and the 108 is like 2775. And so if I can get that 103 to 2800 or 2850, man, you got a rock star in a 103. But since the 108 is going 25 feet per second faster than, out of my rifle, the 108 makes more sense. But if I want to go and take up that, somebody in the industry who's friendly with us just went to Geisley, and I'm gonna call him and ask for a rifle. I'm gonna buy it, but I'm gonna reach out and see if he can get me a Geisley. Because somebody did in the industry moved over to there, and so I'm not a fan of. I think they turned Geisley into LaRue, and I never liked the LaRue hype. And me and Mark LaRue fought all the time. I don't have any negative necessarily with Geisley, but the fact they turned it into a hype machine. But it is what it is. You know, it's one of those deals. But anyway, yeah, I just like all that stuff, and like I said, I'm a fan. I like playing around and creating content is the job. It's going out and taking what comes out of, what comes into my eyes and then send it out my mouth to everybody is really kind of what happens here. And so, it's kind of a thing that we do. We go out and we do that stuff and we play around and we experiment. And Chris is huge. A versus B, A versus B, A versus C, A versus C, A versus D, A versus D, D versus C, D versus B, D versus. You know what I mean? We do that all the time. Yeah, and those mounts were awful and everything. None of that stuff worked. And LaRue would lose everything militarily when they tested it. And then what they don't tell you is slings, mounts, and bipods can be changed, even though you won the contract. When the manufacturer gets the contract for the rifle, he can change those items. Like Atlas Cal won with the Barrett. The M22 is supposed to have an Atlas Cal on it. If you watch any video with a Barrett, it has a Harris on it. Why? An Atlas Cal is $400, a Harris is 90. Barrett gets to keep all the extra money. Same thing with LaRue versus Spur. GDI, which I have the GDIs behind me, and that was the fight I got in with. Here's oh no, it's I'm trying not to move too much. Like here, this is the GDI, right? And you can see it better. This side's a little more light. Here's the GDI QD. The GDI wins every, Picatinny Arsenal test there is. They send them all out. Every Picatinny Arsenal test, when they do all this, GDI wins. But LaRue attached to the fanboys, and then somebody in can just say LaRue mount, put a LaRue on it because it was $150 and the other mounts were $400. So you had the same thing. $400 mount wins the contract. The manufacturer then replaces that mount with a cheaper one and keeps the difference. There was even arguments like when Horace with the spotter. So they're looking to replace the spotting scope. Horace buys Leopold, and at the time, nobody wanted to work with Horace. He was a douche. We worked with him and fired him. And then that's when the other guys picked them up. But Horace buys Leopold spotters, puts their reticle in them, and then submits it to the manufacturer or to the Army. Well, Horace won the contract, and the spotter was less money than Leopold, who they bought it from. So Leopold then disputed the contract and said, wait a minute, he's selling our spotter for less money than us because he owned a casino. And he can turn around and lose money on the contract to get it and have a legacy of saying my product's in with the Army. And that created a whole domino effect of people complaining. And then that's when the Horace fights started, the lawsuits started, and then the Army decided to make their own reticle without somebody owning it. So the Army reticle now is theirs. It's part Horace, part whatever, but it doesn't have a license agreement to it. And now there are ones that do, but that was the direction they went because this contracting is so bullshit. It's absolutely what do you call it? Well, now a lot of them, like all the tier one guys, they all use the Leopold field spotter. They all have their Storms and Marses and all their lasers attached to them, and they're all much smaller. And so they use the Night Force, is the one you're seeing most of them are shooting. Oh man, 87 grain burgers in an 18-inch arc at 2950's got to be beautiful. That's got to be an amazing friggin' shot. So, yeah. And they're really not. Each thing in the Army reticle does a very specific thing. The hats on the top, the hats across the top are specific, and they even cut the hats in half. The hats used to have a bigger number, and now the hats have a smaller number. Then they have a fine ranging arm, and then the grid for holds. But yeah, the Army reticle is because Roberts was the futures guy who signed off on everything. So CR2, the CR2 dudes were the Army instructors. When their service for teaching came up, Rance went to the drill field, Roberts went to futures. Futures is who signed the contract. And so Roberts was knee deep in those contracts. So it's like you talk to him, you know what I mean? It's all over with that stuff. But yeah, that's where that stuff is, man. Damn, man, I'm still obsessing over 87 grain burgers. I'm still obsessing over that one. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different things. Right now, I mean, overall, the best spotter, period, bar none, is the spotter 45. The spotter 60 is my longest running, and I like it, but it has the wrong reticle in it. The spotter 45 with the Horace H reticle, I think, is the best long term everywhere. But to use one today, I use the Night Force. It's the most comfortable, it's the fastest, it travels well. The Night Force field spotter with their reticle in it and their little cage around it is like the best thing to spot with. The eye comfort can't be overstated. The speed in which you're going to focus and adjust because you have the dual turns dials right there, the ability to red dot, laser, cage, whatever you want in a small package, and the way it travels is so good. And then the back, the eye box. It's like you hang back here and you're like, man, that rocks. And so I think today, if I was going to replace everything and say, if somebody said, hey, man, you need 10 spotters on the line, what do you want? I want Night Forces. So but the field scope, that's the one that I think is the best. The Night Force field scope. No, it's only straight. It's a scope. A Night Force field scope looks like a satellite scope. So it looks like this, and it doesn't have a saddle and turrets. Back here, it has two dials, one for mag, one for focus. And then here, it has a tiny cage, and it looks like a saddleless scope with two wheels in the back, and it's only about this big. And so it's straight. I don't do any angles. I have them, but I don't like them. Um, Angles are a very specific thing when you're shooting Palma and you're going to roll into it and kind of look and then roll out of it. So angles were designed for a very specific reason. If you're not doing that, angles fuck you up. They hurt your neck. Dude, I'm the spotter. Like with Mark and Frank classes and with all that, Mark watches you cuz I'm the guy, like, if you go to a class with me and I tell you 3 times to not slap the trigger, and I'm gonna be detailed, like, the 3rd time, it's gonna be like, "Hey, man, don't do this. We're doing that." I'm gonna spend a minute with you. The 4th time I see you not slap the trigger, I'm like, "Fuck that guy. He don't like me." But Mark is like, "Trigger, trigger, 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 trigger." So I spot. And I think I'm a better spotter anyway. But anyway, I spot and he works the student. So I live behind a spotting scope. I use my left eye because I'm left eye dominant. I have astigmatism in my right. So I use my left eye for everything. And yeah, that's how I operate. So anyway, yeah. But I think the field spotter and then the Heinsold. Now, third place is the Swarovski, this STR 80 with the digital. Yeah, you could put one behind it and probably put something on it. You can mount something to it, I'm sure. Take the cap because it has Tenebrex caps like this on it. So, because it's got scope caps, but you could pull the back off and put something. You could put a trigger cam over it. I don't know if it's too big because it's got a big eye box, and so I don't know if it's too big for a trigger cam, but I would guarantee Phone Scope, because they 3D print everything, has a mount. Um, Phone Scope is pretty on top of that stuff. So who knows? But yeah, that's where I go for spotting, and it has to have a reticle. I don't always need the reticle for me, but if I'm gonna buy it, it has to have a reticle. Like with the STR 80, I'll just turn it on until it's overlaid over my target, and I don't have it bright in my face. And then the other thing somebody asked me about is magnification. Top end, no more than 45. I don't need any more than 45 at the top end. I want low end, not high end. I like the Bushnells I use. They go to 8. The Night Force I think goes to 6. The 45 goes to 15. I want a 8 to 10 on the low end and then 45 on the high end. Rarely are you going to see me over 20. Hey, Bobby from Chicago. Bobby from Chicago's here. What's going on? Bobby from Chicago. And then yeah, that's kind of what we got going on here is just you know, stacking them up, stacking them up, stacking them up. I may only stand for another 10 minutes. I got to clean this mess. I got drying coffee all over the place. I'm sticky. I got to take a shower now. I made a mess. And so I'm probably only going to give you guys about 12 minutes more. The reticle to measure. Reticle tells you everything. I want to measure. Yes. Apex Track is good now. Track does a good job. Apex, he's a really nice guy. I have an Apex. I gave it to Chris. It was meant we put it on an air rifle and Chris has it. He never gave it back, but I do have an Apex. It's very good. Tracks are getting better. They used to be big. And now I think the tracks are a little bit better. Honestly, I like these DNTs for the money. The DNT 7 to 35 is a great second backup scope. In that, but the track is good, the rival or the Apex is good. Maven is good. Mike still lives down the street. He does computer work. He won't do guns anymore. He's if I pull out my complex, take a left, and go like 3 miles, take a left. Mike lives right there. I see him rarely, but yeah, he's not doing gun stuff at all. Family and then computer. So he's not there, but I do speak to him every so often. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, and that's where Andrew was asking, like, do I have fun? Well, yeah, I'm always looking at something new. I mean, I'm surrounded by product, and then I got to learn new computer shit so I could talk to you here, talk to you there, talk to you over there. So there's always something where there's an educational side to it. Even like me yesterday, I'm laying in bed between 6 a.m. and 8. Grok, tell me about gravity ballistics. Grok, how do these numbers work? Grok, what do these numbers do compared to that? Okay, if I do this and not what you're talking about, how does that change something? Oh, okay. Now, what do you now analyze these numbers? What do you feel are better numbers? And like I said, at the end of the morning, I'm getting up to, start my day. Grok's telling me to change the 900 to 1,000 from 1.22 to 1.8, 1.18. So from 22 to 18, 22 to 18, right? So I'm always doing it, and that's just what it is, man. It's the game, it's the job, it's the deal. I use my like the race day today. That's my distraction. We'll talk NASCAR. We like with the Rex and Hill and Zilich. The last 30 minutes of the NASCAR race yesterday was us spinning in circles in front of the TV, screaming at each other, like, what's going on? And then it's like, all right, the race is over. Yeah, I mean, in reloadings, and I'm set up, but I'm not. Like, we had an apartment that we were working with. Oh, dude, the future, like, I wish I can show you this. I have a text message, like it came in yesterday and the day before. This week, people are talking the future. Boom, my hat's blown. In 1 month, it's done. In 1 month, the most outrageous precision rifle design you've ever seen is going to be in my hands. It's going to be like multi-cal to a level I can't say anything. I wish I could, but I watched video. I was contacted by a longtime friend. He's like, I got something for you. I'm like, yeah. And he shows me pieces, parts, and I'm like, what that? And then he does some things. I went, holy fuck, dude. And so he's talking to me and talking to me, and then, okay, we're done. And then Friday, new video, finished, up. What the fuck? I'm like, what did I just see? No, it's manual. I'm not talking any electronics. I'm talking a rifle in a way you've never seen a rifle before do things uniquely. The integration of electronics is really great. We are integrating electronics. Like I'll put it this way: I go to Shot Show, go to FN, and just look at the less than lethal setups. The less than lethal guns today are accurate to 150 to 200 yards. The less than lethal and are AI driven. So the integration is like really, really good. But now let's talk mechanics and building something uniquely. I mean, like AI with the switch barrel. Clamp inside, single screw, long tenon, boom, and it works really good. They were one of the first switch calibers out there, and they did it in a way that was elegant, unique at the time, and accurate, right? It had to work. And today we have a lot of multi-caliber rifles, but multi-caliber rifles have limitations. What happens when they fade away? Because that's where this is going. Like I said, he told me 4 weeks. Be in my hand in 4 weeks. And my mind is blown. I think the guy's a genius anyway, but my mind is blown. And it's not electronics, it's mechanics, and it's smart as shit. So it's changing constantly. The bullets. Like I went from the Valkyrie we were talking about earlier. The Valkyrie's dead. I love it. I shoot my Valkyrie. The 80 grains are fine for me. I enjoy the Valkyrie. If I really want to push the envelope, I got an 85.5 load going 3,000 feet per second. Perfect. But the Valkyrie's a dead caliber. I would never say to someone, yeah. If you already have it, yeah, there's a lot you can do with it. Go this way, right? Long barrel life, great performance, hand loaded, and it's a new gun, and it's inexpensive. But your kids probably are going to be struggling to find something Valkyrie related. 6 arc. So I go to 6 arc, and I waited. I waited a while because I didn't want the same thing to happen. So I asked everybody. And then what happens while I'm waiting? 22 arc, 338 arc. Arc isn't going anywhere. Just like PRC isn't going anywhere. So I jumped to arc. So now I'm relearning 6 arc. I'm looking at it from the 80 grain to the 108 and everything in between, what you could do with it. I bet you that 87 grain load that guy's talking about at 2950, I bet you that thing's good. You know what I mean? He probably shoots little bitty holes far away accurately. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy. Yeah, you could. You can most likely he's asking about indirect fire. We are indirect fire. The ELR guys are pretty close to indirect. You know what I mean? Cuz they're such an angle up and they're coming so far down, and then they're subsonic in such a big portion of their I don't know what you would call it, but a big portion. There's supposed to be a link here. I wanted to see where the heck this link is supposed to be. I don't see it. Anyway, I was just looking at a link thing. But yeah, so I enjoy it. Now I got the 25 Creedmoor, and I basically was kind of give Chris a hand. But the 25 Creedmoor, I like just listening and looking, it was like, what? Why are they doing that? But the numbers are so much like I did not and the number that blew my mind was the BC. If you think about it, it's like, why does the 25 have a full point better BC over something 6.5? Bigger, heavier bullet, make it longer and give us a better BC. So it's like this weird, like the 6 millimeters, their BCs are in the sixes, and then the 6.5s, they're all in the fives. And then, you go up and it's like, it's weird that they, it's like like I was expecting the BC between a 134 to be really similar to a 6'5", 136. I'm like, how far are those BCs going to be off? They can't be off that far. And then when I finally looked, and I looked late, it was a full point. Um, I would do Creedmoor, but 2506 is you're just going to be necking something down, or if they have brass, do they have brass for 2506 or 2508? 2506 is a medium though, so I really wouldn't want to do a medium. I would want to do a short action, because 06s are closer to a medium action, like, kind of PRC but I don't know. But I think the Creedmoor is the way to go, the 25 Creedmoor. Like I said, that full point 2850, it's a pre-tuned load. It's a pre-tuned comp hunting load for somebody in modern ballistics, or using modern ballistics, I should say. And so instead of being a slow 30-06 and smacking something, with a sledgehammer, it's like, well, I'm going to friggin' stab this guy with a, rocket ship. And speed wins, speed kills. So the 25 over a 30-06 to me would be a better deal. And that's just where my mind is with that. But so, yeah, I mean, there's so much. It's changing often. Like I said, Chris is at the match now. He's podium, right? As of last night, they were on the podium. And yeah, a lot of recoil though. The hunting stuff in those big ones, man, that's a metric ton of recoil, but I get it. I mean, Alaska, I lived on those hunting calibers in Alaska. In Alaska, we have a 16-person class. Maybe 4 guys have what would be considered lower 48 game guns. Everybody else has a hunting rifle of some flavor. So that was why Gravity Ballistics was, because the hunting calibers. Because I'm on a line. I got 16 people, 308, 300 Win Mag, 28 Nosler, 7mm, 7 Rum, 300 PRC, 300 Wisdom, 270, all the hunting calibers. Yeah, but is that 175 grain? Oh yeah, if you do, well, my magic load is with the 185, but it might work. It's 2000 MR, 46 grains of 2000 MR with a 185 gives you 2700 feet per second out of a 20-inch 308 with a 185. So work around 46 grains of 2000 MR with that 308, and yeah, and exactly. So that's why Gravity Ballistics came up, because I have 8 different hunting rifle calibers on the line and they all want dope. So that's why we came up with Gravity Ballistics. Not yet. We changed something. If you watched the last podcast, Bobby, the reason it didn't come out the first is because I ended up talking to Mark and Chris, or Mark and Chris ended up in the exact same place. And once those two started talking about it, I had to go and email them and change a bunch of stuff. It should be this week, it should be finished, but they changed 4 things with the Gravity Ballistics app because I ended up putting Mark and Chris in the same place at the same time. And once that conversation went, change this, change this, change this. And so, you know, that's what happened. And it's done. But we're changing terminology. We're not calling it the gun number. We did the class. I had that class of 13 people last week. Chris did his course, for wind. Guys were nailing it. I don't get a gun number. What's my gun number again? Gun number, gun number. What's the gun number? How do I find a gun number? Where's that come from? What's the gun number do? So I'm going to go back to the original intent. So the first number of the G1BC was wind deflection. I felt wind deflection was too long of a word, combination of words. So I'm changing it to drift factor. So the first number of your G1 will be your drift number, your wind deflection, your drift factor. So I'm going to change the gun number terminology to wind terminology because it is wind speed. And so calling it a gun number and then applying it to wind, so we're going to call it your drift factor. And so that was part of it. And so I basically told them to go through and change everywhere in the app it says gun number to drift number or drift factor. So we have the X factor for multiplication and the drift factor for the wind. So yeah, it was like if you watch the live from Wednesday when Mark comes on, those two went back and forth about the app for probably 30, 40 minutes. And it was like, no, we need to change this. And then the funny thing is because Chris brought it to the X and Y, and the Y is elevation and the X is wind, but we call it the X factor for multiplying. And he's like, well, we should change it to the Y factor and then the X factor. Then it'll be, geometrically correct. And it was like, what the fuck, dude? I can't do all that with this shit. And so yeah, they were, Xing and Ying me and doing all this crazy shit, but it's done. It's just the instructions and the terms. And then I only get like 2 comments a week for changes, and then it's slow, because it's being relayed. And on top of that, I jumped from the app to yeah, I'm gonna go live. So part of if you watch, um, go to High TV, right? And they upgraded my video platform. And right now, I just took the link from YouTube and embedded it into High TV. And you're watching me this morning on the Hide, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. All three, four of those, I gotta look at my fingers. All four of those are playing currently. Have I, if I turn around and pick up a firearm and start waving a gun around, boom, these feeds will immediately get shut down. AI watching it because they don't want you live streaming and walking into a McDonald's with a firearm while you're live streaming. So all social platforms will shut you down. I have created High TV to be its own independent system through a different platform. I have an enterprise platform. I can go live with a firearm. They won't bother me currently. However, they are integrated big time now with AI, and I have to test that. Their AI may do the same thing to me and shut me down picking up a firearm on a live. Right now, I can go live directly through High TV, and that's what they did this week. They've turned on my ability to bypass all social media and only focus the signal to you guys through the Hide. I am going to be running Starlink, Bobby, at rifles only and putting cameras up on stages, talking to competitors, talking to past people, and I will be bringing you live streams on the Hide from the Cup. And like yesterday, and why we moved my live from yesterday and the day before, Friday and Saturday, because they turned that system on, and I spent all day in the garage on a completely different computer setup just to go mobile with it. In fact, this morning I tried it really quick with my phone and this camera. So I could basically, this camera has a live button. I hit the live button, it connects my phone to the site, I can go live. Now, signal dependent, where Starlink comes in. But that's the goal, is to bring you live shooting content on the hide that cannot be censored. I'm 99% there. They're fixing a few bugs in the system. But Friday, if you watch this channel at all, it was like live, not live, live, not live, live, not live, live, not live. Where'd that video go? It's gone. Live, not live. I did 12 minutes and then deleted it because I was testing a live streaming system in the garage that I'm going to take to the range this week. So I will be doing the training lessons on Friday night, whiteboard, me talking to you, and then Saturday live fire practical application on the range. And I have that ability now to do that without fear of censorship. Yes. See, exactly. They cut your feed immediately. They do so many things to you if you pick up a gun live, and that's why you'll notice Chris will ask, because even though we're inside our house and I got one on the wall behind me, he'll ask, "Hey, can I pick that up?" No, and you have to be that way. But now, high TV this week, I cut them all out. I can go direct, and I even can kind of go direct from my phone on the fly with a camera this big. And this camera connects to my phone, which will then connect to the internet directly to high TV. So I want to be able, instead of, because like if you guys notice, I talk forever. I'm on an hour and a half right now. I'm on an hour and a half Wednesday. I did an hour and a half on Friday, right? But I can do 10, 15 minutes in the moment, but I'm not doing 10, 15 minutes in the moment because my current system required me to use part social media. So those moments pass. They either have to be filmed and then put up, but even they took down, I did that Detroit Gunworks video. YouTube took it down because they said at the 4 minute and 40-second mark, I said, go buy a gun from them. It was like, "Oh, you should go buy one from these guys." And then I was selling a firearm on a live and they killed it. I got a strike, for putting up a pre-recorded video. And even here, I tried loading a pre-recorded video with titles, with intros, with music, and YouTube cut my feed because I was shooting in the pre-recorded video while live. And they just use AI, and AI sees a gun and it's done. And so it's not even a person. And so yeah, that's the problem. They not only cut your feed immediately, they strike you and demonetize your channel, or they nuke your channel, And so a lot of what I've been doing has been angling to bring you this, one, with a one button setup, two, on the range with a gun in my hand without being censored. And we're there now. One little bug fix, and by Friday, you're going to see me going live from the range more often. We'll be doing this level of back and forth with me at the range. And the Starlink is great. I have the self-contained battery, push the button, drop it on the ground, and I got 200 megabytes with like 40 upload, and it's money. So I'm going to be going directly to Sniper's Hide, bypassing social media to bring you content while I'm shooting. So cool, guys. I'm going to go clean my mess. I'm sticky. I'm wet. I still got a puddle on my mic stand. And I enjoy talking with you guys. It's fun. Thanks, Kyle, Andrew, Bobby, everybody who's there been talking. Even there was a couple other guys in there. We got a 100 and something people on. So I really appreciate all you guys who are coming on and following us and talking. And we're going to do this more. We'll bring it to you, like I said, Sunday morning. I'm having my coffee before the race starts. I'm not traveling, so when I'm home, sitting down and answering your questions and talking to you. is good. And then our Wednesday with Chris, and then usually I do a Friday night. And so, but we'll see more. I'll try to get Mark in some more. Trying to include him because he's not as mobile. And to me, because of Mark, he's smart that way. Yeah, everybody have a great weekend and stuff. But yeah, definitely enjoyed you guys big time. So thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Tell everybody, how much fun we're having. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.